Well, a teenage boy in Irving, Texas named Ahmed Mohamed was arrested this week when he brought a homemade digital clock he made to school to show his teachers. School officials thought the clock made from a pencil case was a bomb and called the police, where he was led out of the school in front of everyone in handcuffs and arrested. The police spokesman said Mohamed should have been more forthcoming by going beyond saying that the clock was just a clock, but they eventually decided that the homemade experiment was innocuous and let him go. And as you might imagine, many on social media have come forward in support of Mohamed. Even the president has invited him to the White House to show off the clock.
Well, Obama does a lot of, this could have been my son. Mm-hmm. In this case, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Little low.
Yeah, he does look like a little low.
Yeah.
Listen, the terrorists have officially won because we're all insane.
Yep. Yeah. We're handcuffing our kids, the best and brightest.
We're all standing in a line, taking our belts and shoes off and chugging the last of our water so that we can walk through this thing that's going to give us cancer to get to the other side so we can get on a Southwest flight. And kids are bringing in paper clips and they're being called weapons, and guys can't build a digital clock from a Heath kit and bring it in without being arrested and having it thrown in a bucket of water. They've won.
Yeah, we joke, quote unquote, about the terrorists have won. I wonder if they really, when they were planning this whole thing of flying the planes into the towers, I wonder if they really foresaw this whole decade
undercurrent of fear.
Yeah, like this is gonna ruin lives.
They could not have imagined that we were such colossal pussies. They couldn't have anticipated how much hand wringing and how much Purell was on those hands.
Wow.
And what colossal fucking pussies we all are. And they didn't know, because I told you, I just got back from England, and they have terrorism over there as well. They blow up buses and tubes and things like that. And there were guys walking all through the Goodwood Festival with fake submachine guns, and no one gave a shit.
Right.
So they're a little more statistically oriented over there. And they realize that everything's not a weapon and everything's not a threat.
A 10.
Everything's not a 10 and everything's not a threat. Yes. And we don't have that anymore. No. Some motherfucker uttered this phrase 13 years ago, and I'd like to get I was going to say get a running start and kick this guy in the nuts, but I'd like to jump off of a Russian gymnast's shoulders, land on a mini tramp, and then fly up and knee this guy in the nuts.
Oh, boy.
The guy who said, we have zero tolerance for, and then fill in the blank.
Right.
Shut the fuck up. I have not zero tolerance for anything. I have plenty of room. I'm in a fucking accordion.
Yeah.
This notion of like, we have zero tolerance for, it's a retarded way to go through society, life, and everything else.
Well, isn't it kind of a cop-out because it prevents you from having to do the thinking?
Yes.
And do you think if this boy's name was Steve Johnson, we'd be having this conversation, or do you think there was a little bit of undercurrent of, ugh?
We say that every time, but then you turn on the news and a bunch of white guys got shot by a bunch of cops, and it's not news. Like you go, you think that guy would have got shot if he was white? And it's like, yeah, they did, because they shot a white guy yesterday.
Yeah.
So there's enough of, we used to say that, well, if that was a woman, do you think they would have, whatever? And it's like, yeah, they'd pull the plane over and land in another state and pull her off the plane. Like, yeah, being named Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is probably not going to help this kid's case. But there are plenty of cases where the little white boy went and gave the girl a kiss on the cheek, and now that he's registered as a sex offender, and the same kid's brother showed up with a spoon, and they called it a knife, and they thought it was a weapon. We're pretty equal opportunity retarded, I think, now.
Let's not forget the boy who at lunch ate his Pop-Tart in the shape of a gun and got in trouble and had his parents called.
Right. His first name was Jake, not Mohammed.
Right,
we're fucking equal opportunity retards.
Yep. And just a heads up to little Mohammed, if you want to get away with something, tomorrow's the day. Don't turn in homework. Throw a paper airplane in class. Mm-hmm. You're not getting in trouble tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And that poor thing. I mean, he wants to be an engineer, he said, and he probably isn't, I'm going on a limb, maybe the most socially comfortable kid. He made something really cool. He brought him to show his teachers, and he got absolutely humiliated and terrified in front of his whole school.
Well, here's the deal. The other thing is the heroes from the first responders sort of thing, which is, the teachers are heroes, the firemen are heroes, the cops are heroes. A lot of them are dumb. A lot of this shit could be...
Way to take it to them.
And or lazy. A lot of stuff can be nipped in the bud with a little something called common sense that we've discussed in the past. The teacher is allowed to profile. See, profiling doesn't always have to be negative. There's a very positive profile. There's a profile where I just went to an entire event where people were profiled. The entire event where people were profiled was a whole bunch of people dressed to the nines, had smiles on their faces, and the security was kind of like, you'd see our little gaggle of guys and go, well, no problems here.
You're probably all right.
That guy's probably all right.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, when this guy's a good student or the kids, look, we all know the kids. I know my kids' friends. I know how they are. I know how they act. I know the sweet ones. I know the ones who will be a little more aggressive and whatever it is. And my daughter has a friend, and her name is Cammie, and she's half Asian, and she's a straight A student, and she's the sweetest little girl in the world. And if Cammie showed up with a fucking digital clock, I wouldn't fucking dump a bucket of sand on her head and throw her in the pool in slow motion. No, I'm profiling. Happy profiling.
Yeah, the good way.
The good way.
Yes.
I will explain to you that there is a negative profiling, which is not negative. It's just profiling. It's seeing a guy and he's got a limo tint and the car's a little bit lowered and one of the tabs are expired and it looks like there's a bunch of dudes in that car and the cop walks up with a certain posture to that car because he's profiling.
Yes.
And then there's the next one when you pull over Lynette, and she's driving a fucking Tesla, and the two kids are in the back seat, and there's a bunch of bags that say Gelson's or Whole Foods on it, and you walk up to that car, it's a different posture. And the reason it's a different posture is because it's happy profiling and sad profiling, but it's still profiling, and it's realistic.
Of course.
So the very first person who comes across this guy with his digital clock should have never picked up the phone or walked him into the principal's office or done anything of that nature. They should have profiled the innocuous-looking young kid with the funky frames on his glasses.
And the NASA T-shirt.
Yes.
And the kid who probably aced the last three tests they had in biology and geometry and the spelling bee and went, well, not that kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
And speaking of profiling, isn't Ben Gurion Airport in Israel, isn't that why they have no problems? Because they have guards there profiling everyone who comes in and out of that airport?
Well, that's all you have. All we have is profiling. And again, not a bad thing, a human thing.
Yeah.
It's not even a human thing. It's a nature thing. It's an animal
survival
thing.
instinct.
We're taught
Right.
to profile.
It's our gut.
We're taught to sort of
Size you up.
size up everything. There's a way through every park around here. You can walk through a long, dark tunnel under the freeway, or you could sort of stay where the streets are lit and walk around. Now, I don't know who's in the tunnel. Sometimes no one's in the tunnel, but most people might choose to walk around because we are profiling the actual path. Mm-hmm. We profile the path.
Yeah.
We profile the neighborhood. We profile the person. We profile the animals.
Yep.
We profile the tree. If it looks like that tree is dead and has a limb that looks like it might bust off, do not spread out your blanket and have your picnic under it. You could get crushed by a blanket. We profile the weather. Hey, not a good day to go golfing. It looks like some thunderclouds. That's what we do.
Oh, it's hate speech right there.
Thank you.
It's
Anti-weather.
All right. So anyway.